Many years ago, in a quiet village on the outskirts of Lagos, there lived a young woman named Chisholm. She was only 20, but life had tested her in ways most people could never imagine. After her parents died in a tragic car accident, she was left alone in the world with nothing but her mother's old roadside food stall and the memories of better days. She lived in a crumbling one-room house at the edge of the village. The roof leaked when it rained, the cracked walls groaned in the wind, and she had no mattress, only a thin mat and a heart full of dreams. Every morning, Chisholm would light her firewood and begin cooking jollof rice, yam porridge, and beans for her little stall. She barely made enough to survive, yet she continued because helping others gave her strength. Despite the hardship, Chisholm always wore a smile. Villagers admired her for her kindness, especially Mama Ngozi, a regular customer who often shook her head and asked, "Chisholm, why are you always smiling when life hasn't been fair to you?" Chisholm would simply respond, "Because I'm still alive. If I wait for life to be perfect before I'm happy, I may never smile at all." Every afternoon, just before sunset, a crippled old man would wheel himself out from under the bridge near her stall. His name was Papa Joe. His legs were shriveled, his clothes always filthy, and his wheelchair groaned with every movement. Most people avoided him, holding their noses or crossing the street. But Chisholm never turned him away. She would offer him the food she had saved for herself and say, "Eat before it gets cold, Papa Joe." He would always whisper, "God bless you, my daughter. May joy never leave your house." One day, as he wheeled up to her stall, two boys nearby laughed and shouted, "Ugh, this place stinks. Is this a food stall or a beggar's hut?" Chisholm didn't flinch. She looked them in the eye and said, "My food is not only for the rich or clean. Hunger doesn't care how you look. If you can't be kind, be quiet." She turned back to Papa Joe and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't mind them. You'll always be welcome here." Then came a stormy night. As the rain fell and thunder roared, Chisholm wrapped a plate of yam and beans in nylon, grabbed a thin blanket, and ran to the bridge where Papa Joe slept. She found Papa Joe shivering and soaked. Kneeling beside him, she placed the food in his lap and wrapped the blanket around his legs. "I was thinking about you, so I brought you this," she whispered. "No one should go to bed cold and hungry." Tears welled up in Papa Joe's eyes. "Why do you help someone like me when people always tell you not to?" She looked at him and replied, "Because kindness should never depend on what someone looks like." She said her goodbye and left to her hut. A few days later, life took a harder turn for Chisholm than she anticipated. Her pot remained full. No customers came. She was barely surviving, and on top of it, her landlord had given her 30 days to leave his house. She immediately broke down in tears. Was life ever going to get better? Or this was really her destiny? At one point, she stood in front of her mother's grave and whispered, "Should I sell your stall, Mama? Will that keep me alive one more week?" But something in her refused. That's when she heard the familiar squeak of Papa Joe's wheelchair. She wiped her tears quickly and forced a smile. "Papa Joe, welcome, welcome. Your food will be ready soon," she said, even though her voice trembled. "Thank you for always being good to me," he replied. The following week, she didn't open her stall. She just sat in her small couch thinking of a plan to escape this cycle of poverty. But the day she finally opened the stall, something happened. She noticed Papa Joe trying to cross the road toward her stall. She just turned to get his food ready. Then it happened. Within seconds, a speeding black car hit him. People screamed, but no one rushed to help. "He's dirty!" someone shouted. "Don't touch him!" But Chisholm didn't hesitate. She ran into the rain and knelt beside him, lifting his bloodied head onto her lap. "Please stay with me," she cried. "You can't leave me now. You're like a father to me." She took him to the hospital, paid with the little she had left, and stayed by his side day and night. She stopped working. She slept in the hospital chair, surviving on hope. When he finally woke up, he looked at her, confused. "What happened? How long have I been here?" "Almost a week," she whispered. "You stayed? I couldn't leave you. You have no one. You spent your money on me? You're not just a stranger, Papa Joe. You're someone who matters. Days passed. One afternoon as she fed him, two men in suits entered the room. They greeted Papa Joe with respect, calling him sir and asking about his health. Chisholm stood back, stunned. All this time, she thought he had no family. She stepped outside, her heart racing. What's going on? Who is he really? She wondered. A voice inside whispered, You were kind, but were you also blind? A week later, Papa Joe was discharged. As Chisholm prepared to walk him back to her little hut, the same black SUV arrived. The men asked her to come along. They drove past places she had never seen. Mansions, paved roads, high walls. Finally, they entered a massive compound. Chisholm froze. Papa Joe reappeared, clean-shaven, wearing designer clothes, standing tall. My real name is Chief Joseph Madhu, he said gently. I'm a retired billionaire. I came here disguised to see if people still help when no one is watching. You, Chisholm, showed me that true kindness still exists. She stood still, stunned. I didn't do it for a reward. I just did what was right. Chief Madhu saw the fear in her eyes and said, Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I want to bless you. He set up a new restaurant for her called Chisholm's Eatery, gave her a furnished apartment and a financial foundation. Chisholm immediately knelt down with tears in her eyes and thanked him. Thank you so much, sir. I never knew I will see such a day, with all my dreams being a reality, Chisholm said. Don't thank me, Chisholm. You really deserve it, and I'm glad God used me to change your life. Chisholm used a portion of the money to buy food, clothes, and books for children in the village, and a small shelter for children on the street. Something else happened too. Chief Madhu's youngest son, Daniel, began visiting her restaurant regularly. Slowly, friendship turned to love. Their bond grew stronger. Eventually, they started planning a future together. At first, Chisholm resisted him. I'm not from your world, Daniel, she told him. I'm just a girl who cooked under a leaking roof. But Daniel smiled and said, And I'm just a man who's lucky enough to love someone real. Sometimes Chisholm would sit on her balcony, looking at the sky in disbelief. Her life had changed so fast. But deep in her heart, she knew the truth. Kindness had written her story. I hope you liked this story. Tell me your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Until I see you again, stay safe.